All right, second attempt at the stream. Trying to do a concurrent YouTube and Twitch. So I'm doing a lower resolution, lower everything, and using OBS to push mainly to Twitch, and then it takes the file and it sends that to YouTube. So I don't know if it's even going to work, but we will see if it works. Let me run this real quick. Yeah, it appears to be doing something. That's good. Twitch also appears to be doing something. Maybe, who knows? So I need to edit some cosplay photos. I've been slacking quite a bit. It's always nice to go and take the photos, hang out with people, but actually editing actually editing the photos can be slog or whatever word you want to use. I've done a few photos, but I need to do a lot more. So I'm thinking I might start with a group, like a photo with 2 people in it. These were taken just like randomly when someone else was posing them. I had sent before, but the cameras I was using, the Z5, which I have right here, different lens. I just did a quick little photo outing, potential video with this combination. This is a Bushnell 135 2.8 old film mirror lens. So it's manual focus, manual everything. But the Z5 on the cosplay photo shoot, I was using the 50mm f1.NS, which is a nice lens. And the M6 Mark II from Canon with the Sigma 56mm f1.4. Also a nice lens camera combination. Both of them did surprisingly well with autofocus. The Z5, the main thing that I figured out is that when you want to do servo autofocus or whatever they call it, put it in the accuracy mode. Then you get eye autofocus plus accurate servo. That's the way to go with the Z5. You're gonna miss photos, but it seems relatively consistent in at least outdoors, decent lighting like that. That's really good for considering the distance and everything else. It works. Actually, I could try to edit this. It looks decent. The lighting, some of the day was pretty rough, just like the extremes of high and low. But can do something with them. And some of these photos, I was just off to the side. Someone else was taking their photo, and I was just taking some potential anything type of photos. Oh, you see right here, this is with the Sigma 56mm f1.4 EFM lens. I didn't have the hood, and the hood definitely can help that lens. So you can see these rainbowing effects on there. Just the light hits right in the. I did have a filter on, which potentially could have caused some of it, but it's mostly the lens as far as I know. That one's okay. But both cameras were pretty good with focus, considering. That one's good, I think. Slightly blurry. 1/200th of a second. Yeah, I'm not sure. So at this point, I'm just looking for something to edit. I think I liked. Where was that? Nope. That one is okay, but again, with the extreme lighting, I don't even want to put that much effort into it to try to fix that. Uh, maybe one of these. No. Was it this one? Maybe. No, it was that one. That was that one. Okay. All right. So I was using smaller apertures, but it depends on your preference. At f3.2, which you can't see because my face is blocking the EXIF for you. Uh, this is f3.2, and then we go to f1.4 on the Canon plus the Sigma. Look in the background. It's a lot smoother, a lot less noticeable, which does, at least to me, look more pleasing for the photo. It's a benefit of the larger apertures. And if you're at a long distance, I mean, it really depends, but I do prefer the f1.4 shot here. In this case, I'm going to use ACDC to adjust the photo, and then I will go into Affinity Photo to actually do like more serious editing, cleaning up the image and everything else. So in that case, I think it's usable. Just gonna mess around with the sliders here and see if I can improve on it. ACDC actually just released a new version of this, which is Photo Studio Ultimate. So 2022 instead of 2021. They did change quite a bit. I'm not sure if I'm going to check it out or not. I was actually considering going with the Pro version instead of the Ultimate version because I don't tend to use the edit tools that much. And I think the split is kind of like where you've got Pro version where you can do developing and everything. And then the Ultimate version is a lot of the raster edit stuff. Let's see what this does. So that's going to shift the colors and the highlights. So if I wanted to change that, I don't know. Sometimes I might change the greens, which would probably be midtones, just to make them more blue-green instead of yellow-green. But it's going to affect their faces as well. Let's see. In this color EQ area, you can adjust specific groups, like target some of the colors a little bit more, or adjust the hue of a color in your image. So if I wanted to try to shift the greens here, we can try it. So it goes from orange to like a weird blue green type of thing. Let's see. One nice thing is that in the detail tab, it has skin tune. So let's pick one of their faces. It's kind of an easy mode, skin softening, which appears to be working. You can see it has changed the top box over here. This also has developer-based, like cleaning up blemishes, but it's pretty slow, so I tend not to use it. In this case, let's see what a 16 by 9 looks like. Of course, you're going to lose some of the detail from their clothes and such, but I'm just curious. It simplifies the image, it gives it a different look. Obviously, it's all personal preference type of thing. Hey, Tim. Sorry, I have a different screen. I have to look to the side to notice if anyone's watching. How's it going? Let's see. The highlights might be blown out here. It's hard to tell, especially right there on her chest. My goal here is just to get close to where I want for this look, and then I will try to clean it up afterwards in the other program. Let's see. I still don't like how her skin looks there. Question is, how can I edit that? Let's go like right here. It's not even picking it up. Let's It's going to include some of the horse, which isn't that great. Yeah, I'm not sure. Actually, I think the new version of ACDC is smarter with selecting ranges of colors. In this case, I probably can't. I would have to mask it or something. And my level of effort is not that high. Let's try this one again. It's all right. Whoops. Let's look a little closer. Okay, it's not even in focus. I think I need a faster computer. Guess it's all right. That should be good. Go back to this detail area. Let's see if this glow makes their faces brighter. At least hers is doing it. That should be good. Also gonna check the crop just to make sure I like how that looks. So this one gives more, which isn't bad. I mean, I could always crop it later, so I'll leave it like that. Maybe add some more space to the one side. I just want equal space on both sides in the specific instance. That should be good enough. In this case, I export as a PSD, and then I open it up in Affinity. Oh, HYT. Yeah, I'm trying it out. See how it goes. I've done 3 so far, I think, on YouTube. I'm actually doing a concurrent stream with YouTube and Twitch just to see if it works. So it's pushing to both of them at a lower quality, so it might not look amazing for you guys. But I'm very new to Affinity Photo, although it definitely has some similarities to Photoshop. To figure out which, not that one. Here we go. So, usually the types of edits I do for these are the flyaway hairs, the skin, clothes, like see how there's wrinkles and such. So I'll try to fix those up. And my friends that also do cosplay photography, they've been motivating me to try to use frequency separation more, which I understand it does definitely have some benefits. So in this case, very similar to Photoshop, I'm going to duplicate the layer. So now I have 2 of the same thing. And this actually has a filter to do frequency separation without having to do multiple steps or anything like that. And you've got your high pass, low pass. The goal here, as far as I understand it, is to not have a lot of color on the high frequency side, just the lines. So you'd use your tools to adjust how much is in each side. And in this specific instance, there's 3 different types of adjustment for getting your frequency separation ready to be used. I'm just going to use the regular. So again, duplicate the layer and go back into that filter frequency separation. And then we can use the default Gaussian. Let's try that. Okay. So, a little bit easier to see here. Helps you clean up the skin and all that without adjusting the color as much. So here's the low frequency. There we go. In this case, I'm going to use all the normal healing brush. In painting brush is pretty nice. There's also a patch tool, but I don't tend to use that in the frequency separation stuff. And then, of course, clone is also there. In this specific program, you use the little brackets to adjust the size of the tool. So if we are on the healing brush tool, I can get a size that kind of fits what I'm trying to do. And you have to hold Alt down, select a source, and you can either have the source aligned or have the source move with your cursor. But I prefer not to have it aligned so it stays exactly where I put it, and then it'll shift, but then I'll jump back to that specific area. And the goal here is just to smooth out the look of the colors for at least this layer, I should say. So her face was actually blurry. It wasn't quite as in focus as the other person. This one might be more worthwhile to adjust. So I'm just making those bumps a little less noticeable. Just making the skin more of a smoother general look to it. Which honestly, it doesn't look bad here. Oops, don't want that. Might as well check the horse out too. See. And then when you're in the high frequency, you can easily target specific lines and things that you don't want in there. So here is like a little hair that's coming down. Let's get rid of that. Sometimes you have to edit on both layers. Or you can, I mean, you can do it at the same time on both if you want, but then you're not getting as much benefit from the being able to see what's happening on whichever layer that you want. There really isn't too much to adjust, at least on their faces. Something like this. Don't have to edit, but see what happens. Just making it a little bit more uniform. Save that. There we go. So something like these little splotches on the horse, I might as well try to clean up a little bit. This light patch. I mean, when you're posting at a small resolution, it's obviously not super important to go that extreme on it. But I'll know it's there. There was some chromatic aberrations right there. Not cool. So something like this little tassel is a stray piece we could fix up. The only problem is there is some texture here in the background, so that might be kind of difficult. Could use the clone tool maybe. Let's see what it's set to. Opacity 100%, hardness 0%. 25 maybe. Might be a little much. So I'll take this edge here and just go down. And then if you turn off this thing that says aligned for the source, it'll stay in that spot. So you hold Alt down to pick the location I want to use as a source. I'll do it down here. Just trying to get it to the right angle. Because that tends to be the most difficult spot, because otherwise you get this weird like blur of color, which frequency separation should help in that situation, but I'm not necessarily using it to its fullest benefit. So yeah, that's pretty good. So if we look at the original, you can see the difference. Let me zoom in. Not too bad. Let's see what else we got here. So something like this, I definitely want to fix up. It looks like it might have been light coming in, hitting it like one little area, which doesn't flow as well if it's not there. In that case, what should I use? Actually, let's look at the two different layers here and see what we've got in each one. Yeah, hard to see anything in there. I'm not necessarily using the tool perfectly, so there's always that chance of me screwing up. In this case, let's try patch tool. What you do here is you pick an area and then find another area that you can duplicate from within. It doesn't one-to-one duplicate, but it takes a patch of another area, applies it to the source. So I think that worked pretty nicely. If we look at the original, just that one patch tool on one specific layer, the low frequency layer, in this case, I think it worked out okay. Just to take that, like, really strong light out. But I would probably go back in there and then just try to remove some of these lines. In this case, I'm going to just use the, actually, let's use the in painting brush tool. You don't need to define a source for that one. Sometimes it's easier to use that instead of the healing brush tool. But I might need to toggle between the high frequency and low frequency to get it how I want it to look. I think that's pretty good. Let's look at the original. So it definitely made a difference. Let me save that. Okay. Got some more kind of light areas that I could potentially edit. And she's not really, well, super in focus, which is good and bad. But I will try to fix up her flyaway hairs. Let me go back down here though. Let's see. There are a few little areas that I want to try to fix up. There's that. This thing. There we go. I am using a mouse right now, but I do have this little pen tablet. I have a video on this. It's pretty cheap. It works. Although they have a newer version of their software, which is missing a key feature. In this case, their older software, you can move it. Oops, I didn't want to do that. And then kind of keep moving your hand. It doesn't use the entire screen for that area. It's like a relative area. And for some reason, that's not in their new software, which I feel like is a key feature for a small little tablet where you can just let it use relative positioning type of thing. But the tablets give you a little bit more accuracy and potentially save your wrist from being destroyed by using a mouse the entire time. Kind of mixes things up a little bit. And in some ways, it feels a lot more natural. So in this case, I can use the space bar on the keyboard to move. I hold that down, and then I use the pen to move on there to scroll. And it feels pretty good. It feels natural. So I'm still using the, what's it called? In painting brush tool. Right there. Sometimes it's just quicker to use than the other ones. Something like this, you can see there's a weird, like, bunched up look to her clothes. Which I think it might look better if it's not there. So we can try to edit that. I'm going to go to the low frequency. Hold Alt down and then click on it just to see what is in that. And you can definitely see some of it in there. In that case, let's go back to the patch tool. Select this area. And try to find something that looks better. I'll go to a few of these spots just to make it look better. The goal here is to make it look more uniform so that maybe she had ironed, I'm basically mimicking someone physically ironing their clothes or just making them more well finished. Now let's go back to look at the difference between the original and the edit. Definitely a difference. But I can also see some spots that I could improve on a little bit. So in that case, let's fix this up. Right now I'm only editing the low frequency layer. I'm not editing the high frequency. I think that's good. Let me save it. Okay. See if there is anything I want to edit in here besides the hair. Let's do some flyaway hairs on the horse. Might as well. We do just a regular healing brush. I'm gonna pick both layers. So in that case, I hold the shift key down. I'm on a Windows computer, and I'll pick the high frequency plus the low frequency. Sometimes it's faster to edit both of them at the same time. But you can see that did not work. Let's try in painting maybe. Yeah, that's better. Just try to remove some of these weird hairs that are coming out. I think those might be eyelashes. And those are some long eyelashes. There we go. Let's check. Yeah, I think she could use some clothing adjustment as well. In this case, let's go to the patch tool again. Select. I'm gonna use just the low frequency, and let's see if we can get rid of this like bright spot. I think that works. The texture is not great, but the question is it better than it originally was? I'm just going to go over it to try to make it more variable. Let's get rid of this line here. Well, the texture actually could be on the other layer, now that I think about it. Let's see. Whoops, wrong button. Yeah, it is actually. See that weird texture? So what I can do here is the same thing, but just on the high frequency. In that case, let's go back to the patch tool, see if that works. Let's go. Yeah, I think Yeah, not too bad. It kind of made it a little flat, I should say. In that case, we can use something like the healing brush to add a little bit of texture back in. So I might have gone a little too much on that one, but we'll see. I should probably edit the entire length of it so it's consistent. In that case, let's see if I can just use the healing brush. So this is editing both layers at the same time, but they're separate. So you get the benefit of the frequency separation, but you're also basically applying the edit to both, so it's a little quicker. Whoops, wrong button. Sometimes it's not the best to do both at the same time. Let me go into the patch tool. Try to fix it up that way. This patch tool feels a little weird when I'm doing it. It's just Affinity Photo's implementation of it. So in this case, I'm trying to take a more consistent area and apply it to the very blotchy areas, while not making it too uniform. If we look at the before and after, let's do that real quick. Definitely a lot cleaner. Very much. Save it. Okay. Let me just fix this up right here. Whoa, what happened? Oh, I had both of them selected. Never use the patch tool on both layers at the same time. Doesn't work. That should be good. Get this. I always see something, but if you keep seeing something, you might be doing too much. Fix this. Okay, that did not work. There we go. So right here is kind of a difficult spot. I could try to get some of that detail back in. Well, let me see. I might want to do that last. Now that I think about it, like make a new layer based on those two, and then try to edit it. Let's first go for the flyaway hairs. In that case, healing brush. Let's use the in painting brush. I like this one. It's pretty smart. Flyaway hair is the bane of every cosplay photographer's existence. Actually, I was editing on one layer instead of two. Whoopsie. Well, it depends, but can be good or bad. I'm just, yeah, that did not work. Let's see. Let's try healing brush. So we get a little bit more texture, maybe. We'll see. Yeah. I was adding some kind of weird pattern. Not too bad. Some of these might be kind of difficult. The closer you get to the actual hair, the more difficult it is to edit. Because then you get this weird blurriness, depending on what tool you use, depending on how you do it. And my Twitch stream still says unstable. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Let's see. Test. Man, it's really lagging. That's like multiple seconds between the. Anyways. Whoops. So these edits do make a difference. Sometimes it's pretty subtle, but as a whole, I think it does benefit the image. Okay. My goal here is to get most of the really visible hairs and then maybe leave a few so it looks relatively natural. But I mean, it's not a real hair anyways, but as natural as it can look. This specific cosplayer does a really good job with makeup, wigs. So it's nice. It's nice to work with cosplayers that put a lot of effort into prep, making sure everything's good, high quality, because that just means less editing. We all like less editing. I definitely do. Let's see. Not too bad. Of course, you're always dealing with the conditions, or if it's super windy, there's no hope for your wig unless the wig is like a hat where they have it perfectly fixed in place. The wind would definitely mess it up. Which I've seen some cosplayers make wigs that are literally like a hat, and it sometimes works. Deal with her hairs. I'm hold I'm holding this pen, but then I'm using the mouse. I don't know what I'm thinking. It just naturally jumped to the mouse. Let's use the pen for a little bit just to mix it up. So hold Alt down, pick a spot, and just kind of get in there and try to improve the situation. Doesn't look too bad. At least down there. Up here is a different story. In these white areas, it definitely shows up. So this tool is taking some of the texture out. In that case, I could just do the low frequency. See what that looks like. It's not going to do much. Those lines are probably mostly on the high frequency. Let's try that. Yeah. So one of the benefits of the frequency separation, sometimes it makes it look more natural. So at the moment, I'm only doing the high frequency. I'm not sure how to zoom in with the pen. I probably have to set up a custom control scheme to make that work. So in this case, I'm going to edit both layers. It seems to be not working as well. So I'm going to get rid of that like white background. Seems to be showing up. Whoops. There we go. Or hit a button on the little pen thing. I think one of them set to eraser. That should be good. Yeah. Let's assess the image. Save it. One thing I don't like here is this. It's just like really bright. Let's go into maybe the patch tool. Let's go low frequency. And then we can go to the high frequency. There we go. Less noticeable. Still might want to try to fix that bright area. Oh, down here. Let's try to fix that. So the goal here is try to remove some of the variation, but keep the texture. Let's go to low frequency. So we're taking out some of the weird variation, but on the high frequency layer, we're still keeping the texture of that pattern, which it is very much working in this case. I'm doing it in smaller patches just so there's like some variation. Whoops. Now let's look at the before and after and get an idea of what that actually did. So a very big difference, yet the texture of that material is still in there. Nice. So that is a very, very good use case for this technique. All right. Sometimes looking at it from a distance helps as well. Just to see any like highly visible areas that I wouldn't notice when I'm close up. Should be fine. Now what I'm going to do is take the two layers and then merge those. So now I have another layer with those edits. Let me save that. At this point, I'm going to mess around with this, try to figure out what I can do. I'm going to make another layer, and then I'm going to set that to, I think it's linear light so that it applies down. I'm not sure. I'm winging it. But we can try. Let's try to dodge and burn. I always forget which one is which. Does that work? Does it work? I'm not sure if it'll work on... Let me see here. Oh, I have opacity at 8%. Hardness. This specific tool might not work in this method. Let's see. But I could also just paint with a dark color. Let's try that. Zero hardness. Let's do the opacity. Let's try 50% just to test it. Which is probably too much. Let's do 25. And I could adjust the opacity of the actual layer itself. Yeah, this might be too much.